SoftBank Group's president and CEO Nikesh Arora has stepped down today. Just last night, he received a clean sheet from an internal committee probing allegations of financial irregularities. The move of irregularities, not financial irregularities, the move marks an abrupt end to the tenure of Masayoshi Son's handpicked successor. Earlier, Son had indicated that he would step down when he turned 60. However, in a change of stance, Son has said he would continue as CEO longer than planned. Speaking about his exit, Nikesh Arora took to Twitter and said, and I quote, "Masa to continue to be CEO for 5 to 10 years. Respect that, learnt a lot. Clean sheet from board after a thorough review. It's time for me to move on." Joining us now to discuss the implications of this are Ravi Gururaj, founder of QuickBoard and also member of NASSCOM. Ravi, appreciate you joining us. What do you make of this curious turn of events? Just yesterday, you had an internal committee of the SoftBank board say that it's an all clear as far as Nikesh Arora is concerned in matters pertaining to concerns that had been raised by certain SoftBank shareholders. And today, Nikesh Arora says that there is a difference a difference of alignment between Masayoshi Son's vision for himself to continue to lead SoftBank, and hence it's led to his departure. What do you make of this?
Yeah, I think, we've got to be careful that we're not trying to read too many tea leaves. None of us was in the room with them when they're making the decisions, and I think, we're not in their shoes. But I think clearly it's a premature departure. I think, they were both thinking very long term when they brought this union together, when, Nikesh joined SoftBank. So clearly this is probably not the planned, path, but obviously circumstances have led to this, and I think probably both felt, is the right thing to do. For each of them.
Oh, you're absolutely right, Ravi. It is, we need to take everything that SoftBank has put out publicly and Nikesh has put out publicly on face value. There's absolutely no reason for us to suggest otherwise. But what do you believe is likely to happen here on? Because SoftBank had big plans for India. Of course, both Masayoshi Son and Nikesh saying that SoftBank's 2.0 strategy is not going to change. They had plans to invest $10 billion in India. Do you believe that there is perhaps going to be a slowdown as far as the India startup plan is concerned?
So I think Masayoshi Son has led SoftBank to tremendous success over the last couple of decades, right? So I don't think that changes. I think the opportunity in India is going to be massive. I think SoftBank is the kind of investor that needs to write big checks to move the needle. I don't think they can ignore India. So I think they'll be engaged. I think they'll have to find another leader. Nikesh Arora's shoes are pretty big to fill. They'll need to find somebody just as daring, who's willing to write just as big checks, take as many risks, and go forward. I hope that this is not something that erodes their faith in the India opportunity, right? I think that's here to stay. I think SoftBank's going to attack that opportunity with gusto, I hope, even if there's a little bit of a stutter here. So I think hopefully for Indian entrepreneurs, it's still SoftBank fully engaged, right? I think with a new leader possibly once they find that person.
But what happens to the current SoftBank portfolio companies, Ravi? And it's no secret that a lot of these companies, for instance, housing is, of course, one of them, which is in trouble. Of course, they're trying now to get themselves out of trouble. But what is it going to mean for these portfolio companies? A lot of people like Kunal Bahl of Snapdeal, also one of their portfolio companies, coming out and saying that it will not impact business. But in the near term, what kind of implications do you see for SoftBank's portfolio companies?
I hope there aren't adverse implications. I think, each company stands on its own merits. It has its own plans. I think SoftBank's, willingness to invest in future rounds with them would have been independent. It wouldn't just be a portfolio decision. I think all of those companies have other investors who've syndicated with SoftBank. So it's not like Nikesh Arora or SoftBank are the only people at the table. Every one of those companies has great investors on board that are at the table too, that will help guide the CEOs and the teams there. So I don't see, other than maybe a little delays in certain decisions as they wait for the next leader to come on board, possibly that could impact some of them. I think, they will still, I think what Nikesh has said is benefit from his network, his guidance, regardless. So I think they'll get that. I think, things will pick up and move on. I hope, SoftBank has faith in the portfolio and keeps backing those founders.
Well, yes, we do hope that that indeed is the case. Ravi, appreciate you joining us here on CNBC TV18 with your take. We'll, of course, come back to you in a short while from now to discuss this further.